TVP, the voice of the people.
Kung sa yun lang, federalism ko.
Will be positive for me, especially if we are optimistic.
Is for the good of the Filipino.
February 2, 1987, the date when our 1987 Constitution was ratified. Given the fact that after 35 years of its promulgation, Philippines enters a new millennium, new generation, and of course, encounters new societal conditions. But the big question is our 1987 Constitution still relevant to our existing condition? Or do we really need a change of it and adapt a constitutional reform? In this issue, what's the opinion and views of our Filipino people? Lumipad ang aming team upang pakinggan ang boses at alamin ang pananaw ng ating mga kababayan sa isyong ito. We interviewed different personalities from different sectors in our community. We have the incumbent and re-elected SB member of Carmen Bohol, Honorable Paulo Cahote, Reverend Father Randy Buiser, the parish priest of San Pedro, Calungsod Parish, Mr. Alvin Eloya, a social studies teacher, Mr. Jacinto Alboroto, one of the sectoral leader of Carmen Bohol, and Mr. Dave Miano, one of the Baisumen campus student. Their voice are heard and opinions are valued only and right here in our #1 show in the country, TVP, the voice of the people. Boses pakinggan, opinion pahahalagahan. The voice of the people.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am Julissa Yakuan of PSS Social Studies 2A, and this is as the former and the newly elected SB member, Mr. Paulo Camote, and today I will conduct an interview with regards to the search. So sir, considering the age of our current constitution, knowing that we are now in the so-called new era in our do you still believe or convinced that the provision of our 1957 Constitution are still really one of our existing conditions?
Ang 1987 tama, ay nasa ng bayan ng Hempa at ang gawag yun sa akong mga global officials support the CEO sa barangay. Pero naghanap po diyan ang angay na kami naon. Buwan na hikma dagan ang gobyerno karon.
One of the advocacies of our outgoing President Duterte is to adopt the new system of government, which is the federalism. But some to say that his term will end and he will not adopt it. What if the upcoming new regime will really pursue a constitutional reform from presidential to federalism? As a citizen of the state and having this position in our society, what would be your take on this constitutional reform? Are you open or in favor of it?
My personal opinion, ma'am, ako pa pabor ko sa federalism. Labi na gyud ang umana. Na unta serious na nila na dili unta ang mga karakter sa presidential no karakter sa president kay maro gyud sistema sa pang ang sistema sa gobyerno usab pero ang mga tawo nga naglingkod mao lang gyapon wala gyud gobyerno. Ay importante na gyud nga ang atong mga batanon nga lahi na kasi lahi na ang ilang pagbuba base na yun sa tinunan nila nga dahil walang tao.
Wala rin mo sa may mga angay problema mga budget, mga issues na
Ang programa mga naman ang definition of relation is ang importante na pagkutuman naman ang kisa lang data din tayo na wala lang ka naa kung pinunanay nga politiko wala di na mo gamit ang kwarta ang mga politiko panahon sa iba.
So,
tungkol kay ang mga panya nila, mga dagkong opisyal, pero wala na kay bao o kung sa ng federalism, mga unang buhatong ka na campaign information na nato sa nayanong tao, may bao sila, or kung sa klase gobyerno o federalism.
The voice of the people.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is me again, Julesa Agula, will interview Mr. Jacinto Alboroto, the former Vice President of Farmer Association in La Salvacion, Carmen Bohol, and currently a part of Senior Citizen Society. So, there are few questions that we are going to indulge in today's. So, first question is, considering the age of our current constitution and knowing that we are now in the so-called new era in our society, do you still believe or convinced that the provisions of our 1987 constitution are still relevant to our existing conditions? Why?
Para na kapagin niya kaya nasusunod
Why?
Ay, sipin.
wala kayo magkantaw sa tauhan
So, yes. So, kanang kuan, unsa may imo kanang sa atong elections makita man jud imo kung unsa may kanang epekto ang atong kanang national election and local election sa kaimportante ang 1967 constitution karon or di na ba siya importante sa nakita nimo sa atong kahimtang sa atong elections nga gusto man jud kayo ang vote buying.
supak ng lahat dahil laray sa balawat sa pumibig laray gusto like Jesus was like gusto sa ito ano na matong kumanagin
One of the advocacies of our outgoing President Duterte is to adopt the new system of government, which is the federalism. But sad to say that his term will end and it is not still adopted. What if the upcoming new regime will pursue a constitutional reform from presidential to federalism? As a citizen of the state and having this position in our society, what would be your take to this constitutional reform? Are you open or in favor of it? Why?
siguro ko sa federalism ang federalism nagaran sa mga nasod na federalism para sa gusto ng mga balance na pagmamahal sa gobyerno sa kawan goal na ang gobyerno goal na sa kawan na dugay ni mo galit na mo ang reklamo paspas sa mga kripto paspas sa mga project sa wala bila sa mga Rasok kita yung presidential
So, kuan kanang so yun man ta sa federalism. So, kung kining federalism matuman na ni sa kanang umaabot nga panahon, para nimo unsa may angay jud nga proposal sa gobyerno?
ang utusan ng gobyerno natural pag-uma nag-uusap ang asin ayaw ang proyekto paspas ng uma paglawas ang importante ang
constitutional reform will be adopted in the future regime, what do you think will be the impact of it to you as a student and to the society where you belong?
Lingon, agad na kata, gobyerno, yang sa komunidad ko, sa federalism, minus na focus na sila nila mga kaya na sabihin na focus na po sa silahan sa mga komite.
So, sa may mga country nga imong nailhan na kanang kuan siya sa kanang ginani nga way nga kanang rock. So, kaingon jud ka nga tungod sa pag-change sa ilang kanang ilang constitution, pag-change na og kanang pamaagi sa ilang gobyerno. Kita nimo ang kuan kauswagan. Unlike us nga ni kuan og presidential pero imbis nga na arangan na sa una nga mga panahon ni ubos ang kuan sa standard sa ekonomiya.
Sa UK,
Sa di-practice sila o mga nagdala.
Canada,
Lastly, what is your message to your fellow citizens with regards to this overriding issue on constitutional reform? Sa minus ng mga surakot kagaran do na una politiko surakot yun na gobyerno surakot na federalism ko naman ko sila na sila yung mata ba kabantay sa mga nasa gobyerno na surakot.
The voice of the people.
Good afternoon once again, Father Rodney. So, today I will interview you about the federalism. So, considering the age of our current constitution today and knowing that we are in the so-called new era in our society, do you still believe or convinced that the provisions of the 1987 Philippine Constitution are still relevant to our existing conditions, and why?
Well, for me, there are still provisions that are relevant. In our constitution, there are a lot of provisions there. So, dili ko po ingon nga tanan jud usbon. So, there are still provisions nga relevant kay hapon in our government, in our society, in our country. But of course, just like other constitutions, because of the change of time, no? Kanunay na sa usok. So, there are provisions that should be changed. Generally, it is still relevant for me.
You said that there are still some relevant. So, will you give an example of the unrelevant provision or something that we can change in the future?
And for me, with our problems in our countries, for example, in the political system, no, with corruptions, so there should be provisions that should be changed regarding these problems in our society. In terms of economics, what should be changed? So for political system, no, the problems of political dynasty, graft and corruption committed by some government leaders. No? So those things, provisions that govern these aspects, there should be change in that system.
So I believe that the 1987 Philippine Constitution has that provision. So I think it is the implementation of the executive department.
Maybe.
Yes. So follow-up question: do you think that our political system is somewhat like ineffective, or it is our culture tradition that makes it ineffective?
For me, the system itself, 1987, is a good system. So it is just that with the change of time, attitude, there are the problems in our country. We cannot say that it is really the problem of the system itself, but the attitude of the people, and some other subcultures, negative subcultures. For example, nepotism, like that, or utang na loob culture, that really affected, or that have really affected our political system.
Sum up, if the political system of our country is affected by the people who govern it, who have the authority to govern the Filipinos, and of course our tradition and culture. So next question. One of the advocacies of our outgoing President Duterte is to adopt a new system of government, which is federalism. But sad to say that his term will end and it is still not adopted. So now, what if the upcoming new Rian will really pursue a constitutional reform from presidential to federalism? As a citizen of the state and having this position in our society, what would be your take to this constitutional reform? Are you open or in favor of it? Why?
Yes, personally, I am open for this change, constitutional reform, from unitary to federalism. My own understanding with federalism, not just like the United States, there are two forms of governments, the central governments and the states.
Decentralization.
Yeah. So, I think it would be more fitting in our countries, especially with the geographical situation of our country. That we are made up of islands, archipelago. So there are a lot of islands, and then it is very far, with the central government in Manila. So what is happening is people from other regions, so most of them were being left out, and then the progress is concentrated in Manila, while other places, cities of the countries, our country, they are underdeveloped. So with the federal form, it will be economically sound with our situation, because it will be distributed through the states. And then one of the problems in Manila is they are overcrowded. A lot of people go there for looking for jobs. So it will be favorable for people from the provinces, if development are being done in their own languages. It will also help with our problem in climate change, because one of the problems of climate change is the urbanization. And Manila is highly urbanized, while other cities are developed.
So, a follow-up question. According to some, that when we adopt federalism, other regions will be left behind. It will have competitions between states and states. So, does competition a negative factor in improving our country, or a positive one?
It depends on the attitude of the people. But for me, competition is a motivation to strive hard. The power that will be distributed to the states is for the people, because there are a lot of ethnic groups in the Philippines, so we can also consider their culture, because if we have unitary laws applicable to all, so some cultures some ethnic groups mas makuan sila ba for example na general law kunya para nato okay din sa mga Bisaya, pero dito sa uban nga culture dili applicable sa ila. So if we have federalism, every state has its own laws for its group, for its people, appropriate for the people. So mas maayo siya. Also, with the graft and corruption problem in the Philippines. Nakibaw, hindi kayo matransparent ba? People are, as a citizen, maka-discourage ba? Kadagkas-kwarta dito, mga the federalism, ito, ma-minimize na siya. Mas ma-transparent po ang mga government leaders sa states. Kaya, for example, wala magkailain mabili, sila naman yun. May narinig. O tuwa pa rin ito ang kwarta, magtulo-tulo sila, ang nang i-release, pero wala pa. O matakibaw nga sa nagbinuwag yun sa taas or dire. So, mo po na siguro yung positive na itamo in terms of economics, no? Sa ito ang
When we adapt.
adapt na federalism.
Question, getting the probability that this constitutional reform will be adopted in the future year, what do you think will be the impact of it to you as a citizen and to the society where you belong?
For me, it would give a new hope. With the new form of government, mag-ahimo din sa ako sa country nga magpatagan ba as a citizen, makain mo nga na agree mo na yung tunay change of the system. So I'm not saying that unitary, no, 1987 is not good, but for me, because of the problems that has arisen since the Constitution was ratified in 1987, so a lot of things has changed. Also the attitude of the Filipino people, also the attitudes of the politicians. Kinahanglan na dyan nga mag-change siguro para matagan po freshness as a citizen, as a country, ang government po. So mapag-po at least nakay-hope na makay-hope na kasi mo mapag-po na yun ay ma-minimize na itong mga problems na mga nakakos of regression sa economy and also poverty among the a lot of people in our country.
Lastly, what is your message to your fellow citizens with regards to this overriding issue on constitutional reform?
For me, we should not be afraid, no? We should not be negative. Dili ta maguna nga kanang this is politically driven, no? Ingon nga ina na bahagi para ma-maintain ang ilang power, na sa mga plano. So, kung nga na ang attitude for change in our nation, in our country. So as Filipino people, we should be one. We should be united, no, in continue our dreams and aspirations for our country. Hindi lang tama negative, no? Positive lang na. We are people of faith. And it has been proven with other countries na nag-adapt ang system. Lalo ba, kini mga countries na nag-adapt ang indot ang lanan sa ilang development. So why we should not give a try, no? Sa atong naso. We should be positive about it.
Thank you, Mr. Professor.
Sige.
The voice of the people.
Good afternoon, Sir Alvin. First question, we are considering the age of our current institution and knowing that we are now in the so-called new era in our society, do you still believe or convinced that the provisions of our 1987 Philippine Constitution are still relevant to our existing condition, and why?
Okay, for me as ordinary citizen, I believe that the relevant of the Constitution today is not anymore relevant to the society as what we've said, as what we've observed. So most of the senators, winning senators way back 2019, and also President Rodrigo Duterte way back 2016, the promise was changing the Constitution. So the fact that they won, meaning to say, people support also the constitutional change. So after 30 years of more than 30 years of the promulgation or the creation of the 1987 Constitution, so I really believe as a voter of the Duterte, BBM, and the rest of the winning senators way back 2019, I really believe that it is not relevant anymore of the current settings as we see so many issues need to be fixed and solved, but it really requires constitutional change.
So can you give an example or a certain issue that there's a need for a constitutional reform?
So, for me, as social science teacher and citizen as well, some issues of the institution that need to be fixed are first about the economic issues in the country. Since foreign ownership of the land is not allowed, so it is less attractive to the foreign direct investor. As we know, FDI is one of the largest contributor of the GDP of the country. So therefore, the more attractive the economy is, the more GDP increases expected. So therefore, changing the economic situation of the economic provision rather, meaning to say it could attract more foreign direct investors such as Hong Kong and Korea and Japan. So they allow foreign investor or foreign ownership of their land. So it's obviously they're more industrialized and developed compared to ours.
So you need to say, sir, that you're saying that we should change our constitutional, the 1987 Constitution. It is one way of improving our economic system here in the Philippines.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. For me, it is really necessary, not just the economic situation I forgot to mention earlier, but also as what you said earlier, so the political situation or the landscape such as federalism.
As what you have said, one of the advocates for outgoing president Duterte is to adopt a new system of government, which is federalism. But sad to say that his term will end and it is still not adopted. Now, what if the upcoming new regime will really pursue a constitutional reform from presidential to federalism as a result of their state and having this position in our society? What would be your take to this constitutional reform? Are you open or in favor of it? Why?
Okay, my take on this constitutional reform as promised by the former administration is I am really supportive about the expected change. Why? Because as what we said earlier, there is irrelevance anymore of the 3 decades constitution to the current setting. So first, the transition to federalism, so it is really difficult as what we observe. Some of the constitutional provisions are vague. So that's why the Duterte administration don't achieve the reform that they are wanting, such as how to change the constitution. So meaning to say, I am in favor in 2 points. First, some of the terminology and provisions of the constitutions are so vague, such as constitutional amendment. So that is the number 1 problem encountered by the Duterte administration. So let us consider the number of votes required in the Congress. So the 4th chamber, the House of the Representatives by the Senate, cannot agree if they will convene as one or if they will convene as 2 separate entities. So it is vague in the Constitution. So therefore, that is one of the problems. So changing the Constitution, I really agree and support on that proposal for clarification of the vague provision and at the same time, primarily support of the Duterte administration if the current administration, the BBM, incoming mother, will continue such promise. Why? Again, first, to change the vague provision, and second, for the transition from the unitary republic going to the federalism, for development of the separate regions, because as we have observed in the current settings, Metro Manila is highly developed and urbanized compared to the rest of the other regions. Or probably federalism is the solutions for for the development of the rest of the region. So Therefore, federalism is a must for me.
Sir, so you said that you are in favor of the constitutional reform to federalism. Now, do you think it is possible to happen? Or can the Philippines afford to change from presidential to federalism?
So, if there is a strong will of the government supported by the strong will of the people, for me, there's nothing impossible. Why? Because the primary purpose of transitioning from unitary republic to federalism is again to distribute the resources and powers. It is not just merely centralizing to Metro Manila. So therefore, if we are Visayans, the Ilocanos, the Ilonggos, why it will serve as hindrance of development? So for me, it contributes or a big factor of development. As what we've said earlier, there will be distribution of power and resources. So therefore, it is advantage to us here living in the provinces. It may be expensive because it requires additional resources and budgetary requirement. It may be expensive, but at the end of the day, we are looking for a long-term and sustainable development outside Metro Manila. And that is a good scenario we are looking for. That is why we are in favor of transitioning from unitary republic to federalism.
So you said that this is beneficial for us in the provinces and for the powers to be distributed among the states or in the region. So here's a question. This is the longest problems here in the Philippines, which is the graft and corruption. So do you think that federalism will be the answer to that issue?
Probably. So as a person, as a citizen, and as a working professional as well, I could infer that federalism is also the solution of this longest problem or the cancer of the Philippine governance, which is graft and corruption. Because in the federal setup, I am looking forward that people in a certain state or can I say regional is liable of the people we install to lead our government. At the same time, the political leadership of that certain state is liable of the development in a certain states. So therefore, there will be accountability. Having liability and accountability to the people and to the leaders of certain states, meaning to say, could lessen future graft and corruptions. Okay, imagine, the federal states is already working in each places. So, example is Central Visayas states. We could compare the leadership in the Central Visayas to the rest of the state in just a few span of years. We could compare as people who installed the power in our state, we could compare how they work, compare how they manage our economy, how they manage our taxes. Because at the point of time, we are looking ahead that federalism is already installed. So therefore, within their limit, political limit, so we put decisions, there should be concrete decisions if we allow that certain people or we allow that certain political names or shall I say dynasty to continue leading our states even though knowing that we are already lagged behind the other states.
I think the probability that this constitutional reform will be adopted in the future, Rehan, what do you think will be the impact of it to you as a citizen and to the society where you belong?
So to me, to us as a member of this society, so will be positive for me, especially if we are optimistic or supportive of the decision of the Constitution from unitary republic to federalism. Why? Because we are individual, I am individual that contribute taxes to my state. Let's put in this context. So today, I am a tax contributor to the country, but my tax will go to the National Capital Region, and they will budget the tax in nationwide settings. When federalism exists in the future, as taxpayer of Region 7, then I will see that my taxes are going well. The region, the economic is growing in our states. as Region 7 and Region 7 people citizen are managing my taxes, then there is a clear progress. There is transparency, of course. So I am empowered as taxpayer. So therefore, it is not just perhaps in my comprehension, my inference as a citizen. It could radiate to anybody working within our states, who's also paying taxes for our state.
Do you think or believe that the problem behind the Philippines, that we are still a developing country, is the people's attitude, its tradition, its culture, or the political system here in the Philippines?
So for me, the two are the contributing factors why we are less developed: the people, culture, traditions, and attitude, and the government or political system of the country. But the heavy weight goes to the government, because if we are wishing for development, so it is the government or political system will correct those bad traditions or bad culture of the people. So it is then the government's mandate to set policies for cultural change of the citizen for us to have the positive outlook going to the development that we both are longing for. So therefore, even though people culture is contributing, but the government has the big role in the economic delay that we are suffering as of now. So, because they're the government, they have the power, they have the influence. So if they want to change, if they see that it's the people's problem, it's the culture problem, so why not impose change on that certain problem by implementing laws and policies? So therefore, the primary obligation is from the government or political system. It's just people, cultures will follow of the mandate from the government.
Yes, and lastly, so this operating issue is circulating around the social media, and there are lots of fake news. Now, what can you say, or what is your message to your fellow Filipinos about this issue?
So those Filipinos that who don't believe or who believe that there will be a promised change in the constitutional reform or in the transitioning of government, it better research more of what is federalism or about the issues that they are confusing. Because if we are a knowledgeable citizen, therefore we are equipped with those basic knowledge for us to support those changes that we are wanting for. I know that everybody is wanting for economic development. So why not we will try at this point of time, and our leaders are optimistic or are planning to change something new for the development of the country. So therefore, it is still our huge responsibility as people what we are sharing for or what we are digesting for. So if we digest positive knowledge, positive experiences, no? So therefore, it is a contributing factor because it could never hinder the positive or the development that we are looking for.
Thank you, sir. That will be all.
Okay, you're welcome. God bless.
The voice of the people.
Good day everyone, and good day to you, Mr. Miano. Before we start this interview, I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude to you for accepting my request to conduct this interview.
Good day, and thank you for the opportunity to share my personal opinion regarding this matter.
It's my pleasure. Can we start?
Yes.
So as a social studies major, I believe that you already have the background knowledge about our constitution. Am I right?
Somehow, yes.
Okay, so for my first question, considering the age of our current constitution and knowing that we are now in the so-called new era in our society, do you still believe or convinced that the provisions of our 1987 constitution are still relevant to our existing conditions? Why?
Based on my observation, some of the provisions of the current constitution are outdated and it benefit as only some of the elite and not the general public. The example of these provisions are those in taxation and in agrarian reforms.
So, can you give us specific situations?
For example, in our taxation system, there are a lot of exemptions given to certain businesses and industries. For example, in coal importation and in electricity generation. So it is much better to amend these provisions to have equality, to generate more tax revenue, and to promote welfare to the Filipino people.
Okay, next question. One of the advocacies for outgoing President Duterte is to adopt new system of government, which is the federalism. Are you also aware of this, Mr. Miano?
Yes, I am.
But sad to say that his term will end and it is still not adopted. What if the upcoming new regime will really pursue a constitutional reform from presidential to federalism? As a citizen of this state and having this position in our society, what would be your take to this constitutional reform? Are you open or in favor of it? Why or why not?
So as you've said, the current constitution was implemented for a long time and we can see that there's slow progress. So I am open with the constitutional change proposed by President Duterte because the concept of this transition from being a unitary government to federal was is for the good of the Filipino and the improvement of the Philippines. So why not take risk and find out if this federalism is effective?
Okay, for our third and last question, getting the probability that this constitutional reform will be adopted in the future regime, what do you think will be the impact of it to you as a citizen and to the society where you belong?
If it works well, it will surely improve my standard of living as well as it will promote progress to the society.
Okay, once again, thank you so much, Mr. Miano, for your time and for sharing us your views and opinions regarding this timely and crucial matter.
You're welcome.
The voice of the people.
Constitutional reform and possible transition to federalism has been one of the major topics concerning the Philippine government. The 1987 Philippine Constitution, ratified on February 2, 1987, is adopted up until the present. The Philippines is currently adopting a unitary system of government wherein there is a centralization of powers controlled by the central government which legislates, executes, and adjudicates power over the local government. However, due to the various problems perceived by the people in the Philippine government, the notion of constitutional reform and adopting federalism becomes the overriding issue. In the country's current situation, we indeed need a more effective and efficient constitution and system of government in order to meet the needs of the present society, to keep pace with the changes and attain the kind of progress we aim for. Recall that the outgoing administration of President Rodrigo Duterte has pursued a proposal which would shift the Philippine government from unitary to a federal one. However, past survey revealed that majority of the population are still against the proposed implementation. On the other hand, people infer that they are open and in favor of the said constitutional reform and transition if it will be proposed by the upcoming administration for several reasons. According to the certain individuals who participated in the interviews conducted, several provisions of the current constitution became irrelevant to the present conditions of the society. For the past decades of promulgation of the Constitution, the state is continuously facing various problems that keep on challenging the faith of the people to the present system of government. With the existing political, social, and economic problems of the society, there is a need for a constitutional change in order to fix and solve various issues. Such provisions must be fixed and altered in order to meet the demands of the society and to ensure the common good and development of the country. What could be the possible effects or advantages of constitutional reform and transition to federalism? Federalism involves the decentralization of the national and local government. This allows equal distribution and allocation of resources on local government to be more focused and accountable of the development of the region, and as a result, there is local autonomy with national unity. Furthermore, federalism can also possibly become a tool against the unending issue of graft and corruption and patronage system. The people will become close and active watchdog of the federated government. They will know better their leaders and compare the development of the region with the other provinces. The division of power also leads to administrative efficiency. The work and responsibilities will be appropriately catered by the national and local government, resulting to a more efficient and effective governance. In addition, federalism also promotes clear progress and transparency of the processes and actions undertaken by the local government. To conclude, to achieve a more developed, equal, and prosperous state, an effective and well-established constitution, a system of government, and the culture and attitudes of the people as well really matter. People's attitude, culture, and beliefs are also part of the drivers of growth and development. But we must choose a system that is practical and applicable to the society. In choosing the most appropriate system, we must be politically aware and gain an adequate understanding. A constitutional change and transition of the system of government from unitary to federalism come up with the best solution can greatly affect the state and its citizens. Essentially, the essence of positivity, openness to change for the betterment, and unity for the country must first be instilled within each Filipino citizen to lead the country to progress and prosperity.
Their voices are heard and opinions are valued only and right here in our #1 show in the country, TVP, the voice of the people. Boses pakinggan, opinion.